Eat junk food and stay skinny. Is that even possible, and would you want to? Coming right up. Hey, I'm Dr. Ekberg with Wellness for Life, and if you like to truly master health by understanding how the body really works, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss anything. So more and more searches, more channels, more questions are coming up with, can I eat this and still be skinny? And what we want to try to answer is that even the right question? So because obesity is an epidemic in the United States and the whole Western world, and because it's associated with so many other complications, now we've come to the point where all disease is blamed on obesity, or most disease is blamed on it. And it just doesn't work like that. So we'll try to clear up a few things around that. So first of all, weight gain is primarily caused by insulin resistance. Insulin is a fat-storing hormone. When you eat carbohydrates, you trigger insulin. Insulin is necessary to bring the sugar out of the bloodstream and into the cell. And once you become insulin resistant, you have to make more and more insulin to get the job done. And eventually you get to the point where the cells say, no, I don't want that sugar. I can't use it. I can't do away with it. And now we develop insulin resistance and weight gain because that insulin is a fat-storing hormone. It prevents us from using the stored fat. So that's the foundation. Now, eat junk food and stay skinny. How do we do that? Well, insulin resistance has to do with eating food with a high glycemic index. It has to do with how often we eat food, because every time you eat, you trigger insulin. That's a message to store more fat. So if you eat 6 times a day, you're telling your body 6 times to store fat. If you eat once, you're only telling your body to store fat once. And finally, so the first two, they're kind of short-term influences. They're immediate influences. But then there's a third influence on insulin resistance, and that's degeneration from deficiency and toxicity. So the pancreas, which is located on your left side, right about here, is the organ that it produces insulin. So if we don't get the proper nutrients over time, over years, decades, and if we develop toxicity, if we have toxins and poisons that interfere with the function of your body's cells, then over time, every cell in your body is going to work a little bit less. It's going to make it harder for the body's cells to do their work, and that includes the pancreas. So by eating a poor diet year after year after year, you're ending up with deficiency and toxicity, so the work capacity of your pancreas is getting worse and worse, less and less, until eventually it can't keep up. So the first two are related to the insult of the food, the short term, the immediate urgency for the pancreas to make more insulin, and the third one relates to the long-term inability due to weakness of the pancreas to produce this insulin. So this happens rather quickly. This could take years or decades. So let's look first at what we're supposed to eat. If we eat whole food, meat, fish, natural products, grass-fed, wild-caught, we eat vegetables, organic, without pesticides, and we eat high-quality fats like grass-fed butter, extra virgin organic olive oil, coconut fat, natural fats from nuts and avocado, etc. Now we have a low impact on glycemic index, extremely low. We have a low frequency of food intake because the food is so rich and so nutritious and so satisfying that we don't feel the need to eat more than once or usually twice, maybe 3 times a day, but that's typically only in the phase of transitioning into this. Most people who eat this way are not going to be hungry more than twice a day. There is none or low degeneration from toxicity and deficiency because the body, we're not taking toxins in and we're giving the body all the things it needs. So this is optimal. All the food is natural, low processed. The way we're designed to eat, the way humans have eaten for hundreds of thousands of years. Let's go to the extreme on the other end. This is the fast food, the standard American diet, the processed food, the packaged food, the soda, beer, donuts, ice cream, etc. And glycemic index, it's going to have a medium to high impact. The high impact is going to be the sugar and the grains, but it's not going to be super high because they're going to have some meat, some protein, some fat in there. So we get a medium to high glycemic index, unless they try to eat a low-fat diet. Now that would make it even worse. On the frequency of food, we could go all the way from low to high. If people try to abide by the advice to eat small frequent meals, they might still eat this way and eat 6 times a day. Or they can go to the other extreme, like there's some people experimenting with who eat once a day, but they gorge themselves. They eat all their junk food in one sitting, and now you have a low frequency of food, but you're still just basically eating the processed garbage. Of course, with that type of diet, we are taking in a lot of toxins and we're not providing a lot of nutrition, so the degeneration aspect is very high. So then some people say, oh, well, I've heard of keto, I've heard of low carb dieting, and that's the way to lose weight and get skinny. So that's what I'm going to do. And so they stop eating the sugary stuff, but they don't understand the concept of whole food. So they end up somewhere in the middle. So glycemic index would be low because they've given up sugars and grains. They've heard those are bad, they trigger insulin, let's not eat those. And because they're cutting away their sugars, they don't get as hungry. They fill up with fat and protein, so they have a low to medium frequency. They might eat once or twice or 3 times a day. But the degeneration aspect from deficiency and toxicity is very high because unknowingly they're eating a lot of processed food. So let's look at that. They typically still eat artificial sweeteners. They eat a bunch of chemicals in the form of preservatives and coloring and flavorings and MSG and yeast extracts and all what it's called. They eat processed fats. They don't care if it comes from margarine or processed canola oil. They might eat grain-fed meat, mass-produced toxic meat with a really poor fat profile. They probably still eat pasteurized dairy. They make no difference between cream cheese or pasteurized milk or whole yogurt. And they might eat farmed fish. So they're cutting back on their foods with a glycemic index, so they're reducing their insulin resistance, but they're eating a lot of things that are not good for their body, that is causing a high rate of toxicity and degeneration. So the disease might take longer to develop. And maybe they'll start gaining weight eventually, maybe not, but it's not a healthy way because they're not supporting their body. So in this case, it's optimal. You will keep an optimum quality of life. You will maintain vitality and energy for as long as possible. Here you'll feel good because you don't have the insulin swings, so you'll feel good for a while, but you're very unlikely to live as healthy as possible for as long as possible. And over here, the disease will come rather quickly because you're violating the laws of nature on so many points. So here you've also added back, in addition to these things that these people eat, you're still eating sugar and white flour and grain and high fructose corn syrup and so on. So can you eat junk food and stay skinny? Probably. You can probably do that. But is that really the goal? Is that really what you want? And again, we have become so conditioned to put an equal sign between disease and obesity. People come in all the time and they say, oh, well, I have this back problem, I have this headache, and my doctor said if I only lose some weight, and they believe it. But that's not the problem, because what is your goal? Is it health or is it to be skinny? There's a lot of skinny people with diabetes, with heart disease, with brain fog, with fibromyalgia, with autoimmunity, with stroke and cancer. Lots and lots and lots of them. Is there slightly more people who are obese that get these? Yeah, certainly, because they're violating their body at more levels, but it doesn't mean that you're healthy just because you're skinny. So don't fall into that trap of, oh, I can eat whatever I want as long as I avoid the sugar, because it's not a healthy recipe. Ask yourself what you're truly after, and a lot of the people who go this way, they have such a short-term horizon, and they may still be young, and they're thrilled that they can lose some weight, and they're 25, 30, 35 years old, but it's going to catch up with them. Unfortunately, I was one of those people who didn't figure this out really quickly. I would eat somewhere between here and here for most of my life, for most of my athletic career, and as a result, my athletic career probably wasn't what it could have been, even though I did go to the Olympics and had some success. But who knows what would have been possible if I didn't have all those injuries and if I had eaten to actually support my body. I ate 5,000–6,000 calories in these categories, and I worked out enough that I didn't develop much insulin resistance, but I did degenerate from deficiency and toxicity. So you can't violate the laws of nature. You have to play by the rules. I didn't make up the rules, I just let you know what they are. So figure out what your health goal really is, and I'm sure that after you think a while, it's not about weight, it's about energy and vitality and hobbies and hiking and playing with kids and grandkids and staying healthy into your late years so that you can do what you want. If you think about it, I would guarantee that your goals include all or most of those, and it has very little to do with weight. So figure out your goal and figure out by watching this channel how to stay healthy in a natural way by working with the body. So please share this video with as many people as possible, because we have to get this information, this truth out there. There are so many people getting hurt by doing stupid things and eating all these chemicals and all these junk, and their only criteria is whether they lose weight or not. It is very, very short-sighted. If you enjoy this sort of content, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that we can keep this content coming your way. And thanks for watching.